Hey, all, you don't want to miss this episode of the Successful Franchisee's Beautiful View when I talk with Kristin Kienzle, the founder and owner of Utopia Modern Salon Suites. It's exciting because number one, Kristin's just awesome to talk with. But the second reason is she's brand new. She's looking for her first franchise partner. So if you want to partner up in this exciting new franchise brand, please watch the whole video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and just enjoy the show. Have a great day. Hi, and welcome to today's episode of the Successful Franchisee's Beautiful View. Now, today I'm happy that Kristin Kienzle has joined us. She started and founded Utopia Modern Salon Suites franchise, and she's in the process, the unique process of getting started right from the very beginning. So, Kristin, welcome, and I am so glad you're here with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, well, if you could, let's start at the very beginning. How in the world did you go from esthetician extraordinaire into a franchisor?
Well, actually, I was a hairstylist, but
Oh,
we're
I'm
all
sorry.
same. It's okay. Actually, when I went to school for cosmetology back in 1989, I don't think aesthetics was even a thing. I'm not sure that existed. Maybe it did, and I just wasn't aware. But I did hair for 30. I was right at about 30 years when I started to realize that at some point I was going to need to have a backup plan. I wasn't going to be able to physically do it. And this all was happening around the time of 2020 when we had the pandemic, and people were very needy. The beauty industry really thinned out. We had a lot of people drop out at that time because of all that was going on, and they went into different things, different industries. So all of a sudden we got really busy as hairstylists, and the demand was thick, and the whole mood of the country was so heavy. There was controversial topic after controversial topic. I mean, everything from things that were centered around the COVID to, here in Kansas, we had other voting issues and whatnot. And so it got really emotionally exhausting. And so, coupled with the physical exhaustion, the demand, and the emotional exhaustion, I started to think, I can't do this forever. So, I also wanted to elevate the business that I had, and maybe thin down, work fewer hours while still making good money. And I was in a suite concept salon. It was a franchise company, and it was great. It was a great experience. But while I was there, I was thinking of so many things that I thought I could do better. I think as customers of anything, we do that. You walk into your favorite sandwich shop and you think, well, I'd have Sprouts if I owned this place or whatever. So, as a customer per se of a suite concept salon, or their branding called them studios, I felt like there were things that I could do to improve it and make it better. I had no idea at that time I would ever have more than one location. My whole sights were set on one location, a suite for myself and a few others that I could pick the people who worked around me. And I did have estheticians and a nurse injector and other hairstylists. And I thought that was perfect. I picked the location, I picked the people who work with me, they cover the rent of the space, I make a little more money, end of story. Well, it went really well. We got that one fully leased before we had even opened. In fact, we hadn't even begun construction when we started leasing. I had nothing but a piece of paper with a picture that I would show people and say, this is what we're doing. And to this day, I'm still fascinated that people trusted me, believed me, and signed on. And that goes to show we did have something good brewing, but we also had a lot of demand for it in our community. So we quickly pre-leased during the construction process. When we opened in September of 22, we still had two suites remaining. And I was starting to get a little nervous at that point. I thought, okay, does anybody want them? And then whoosh, we opened and everybody wanted those last two suites. So we leased them out, excuse me, right away. I think we had all leases signed, sealed, and delivered within 2 weeks, and the demand kept coming. So, unfortunately, we didn't have any space at that location to expand and add more suites. So, we started pursuing a second location. And again, that wasn't the plan. And I didn't really know what was going on. I just kept going. I felt like by not creating a second space, a second location, I was just leaving money on the table. There was demand and I knew we could do it. We had the playbook. We were doing everything well, obviously. So we did it again. So at this point, now we have a little bit of a reputation in town and we've got some momentum and things are going really well. Excuse me. So we filled that one up right away and things got going. And now I'm busy enough with, at that point, I had two salons with 12 suites each. So now we have 24 suites. One of them was leased by me. So we had 23 tenants. And our tenants are amazing. They're not demanding, they're easy to keep happy and all the things, but things still happen. Hey, Kristin, this, hey, Kristin, that. So it got to be where I realized I wasn't able to give my clients of my hair business what they deserved as far as attention and dedication to my job that way. I was falling behind on continuing my education and staying up on the latest and greatest. I really didn't care anymore because I was really enjoying being a sweet landlord per se. So I did quit doing hair finally, and I leased out my suite. And that was a weird transition because that's all I'd known since I was 19. But it was cool. It was fun. So after we got the second salon open and up and running, that was the week of Thanksgiving in 2023. So it had been just 14 months from opening the first one to opening the second one. The new year came around and we started to think, we've created some systems. We seem to have gotten this down. We're doing a pretty good job. We still have demand. And so we thought maybe we should franchise this. Well, simultaneously, the West Side, Wichita's split very east-west. They're almost like two different cities. The West Side is asking, hey, are you coming west? And my husband and I were pretty fresh out of time, energy, and funds for this. So no, 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 we're not going to do that. Well, the pressure mounted a little bit. And then my commercial realtor simultaneously happened to find a really great space at a really great deal that we should come look at. So we went and looked at that and really went back and forth. I was tired. I mean, it was a lot to open two in 2 years and just a lot going on. And I thought, I don't know. So, like I said, we were already starting to think, well, maybe we should franchise this and have other people do it. So the third one we decided to go ahead and do, partly because we had the demand and the space was perfect. So we did have a space that was really hard to turn down. And also we thought, this way we can do this and build the franchise off of this. We will document all the systems, document the process, and really make sure we're doing this with franchise building in mind. And also, we will have proof of concept because now we will have 3 locations. So we thought that would be a really good springboard for franchising. So we got that one open. We got our FDD drawn up. Our systems are packaged and that's where we are. We've got 3 fully leased salons with the best tenants ever. And I don't anticipate any of them being an audience to this. They may or may not. So I am honestly saying that I pinch myself because we really skimmed the top of the beauty professionals in Wichita, and we have them in our salons, and they are wonderful people. They are all talented, and I'm just really proud of all of them. And what gives me the most pride in the whole thing altogether is that we have created a space where they are building amazing businesses. And to foster that business building, that entrepreneurial spirit is more gratifying than any money we have made or will make. So that's
Mhm.
that. I've brought you up to speed.
And there are so many questions packed in there.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to start with the first one though. You mentioned your third location you couldn't turn down because it was a perfect location. What does
Mhm.
that perfect location look like for Utopia?
That is a great question. Well, it just so happened that for us, all three of our spaces had never been developed before. They were in strip centers that had never, we didn't have any demo. They'd never been anything else. We found that because of our plumbing needs, every suite has plumbing. That is ideal. So it checked that box. So as far as the build out, there's some things we like high ceilings, had that. So all the things that we require for the build out existed, as well as all the things we require for the business once it's opened and thriving. We need highway access. It needs to be real easy to get to because what happens is when we bring in the 12, 15, 20 beauty pros into our salon suites, their clientele follows them. And I know we can all relate. Whoever cuts your hair, does your nails, whatever, you will drive anywhere to that person. But it's a lot easier if it's easy highway access and just not a lot of, stoplights and all that. So we do like that. Um, Highway access, it's in a busy area. However, it's in an L-shaped shopping center on the corner. The north-facing side is the higher rent, more visible side. We don't need to be there because we're not a destination. So we're on the west side, which gives us a little break in rent. We're getting all the benefits of the great location, but we're not front and center, so we're not paying for that. And that works really well for us. Also, parking, you can pull right up to our salon, walk right in. And we're also surrounded by other businesses that really help create our vibe. We've got a HTO, tea's a big thing. We've got a brewery across the street. We like higher end places, but yet not so high end that our rent is sky high, just enough to where, and let me back up a little bit. Our first two salons are flanking what we call the center of the universe in Wichita. It's where Target, Chick-fil-A, Home Goods, everything you could imagine. All the main things are. We've got one salon on the north side of that, and it's directly across the street from Topgolf, and then we have the other salon on the south side of that. So that's really perfect too. And both of those salons are kind of gold mine finds. But on the west side, we're in a really great location as well. But we just like it to have retail. So when our, our target market clientele, when she's on her way in to get her hair extensions and her Botox, she stops and grabs a Starbucks and maybe goes and buys a new throw rug at Home Goods on her way home.
And you threw out two great names there. If you could hand pick three or four neighbors to have around you besides a Starbucks, which is an obvious choice because you can sit there and have your coffee while you're getting your nails done. But
Mhm.
if you could hand pick three or four perfect neighbors, who would they be?
That's a great question. We do like dentists, lawyers, and higher end fast food like Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is always good. That's kind of a weird mix, but I'm just thinking of what's at our three locations.
Yeah.
And the one of our locations has every town has their big popular, well advertised injury attorneys. And that's in the same center as one of our locations. So when we say it's where so and so's office is, everybody knows. Oh yeah, yeah. So if there's a place that we can say, it's over there by such and such that everybody knows it exists, that's helpful.
Outstanding. And you talked about being able to skim the cream of the crop of the beauty professionals in the Wichita area. How are you going to be able to help your franchise partners do the same, whether it's in Tulsa or Oklahoma City?
That is a great question. So we are higher end. I'm trying to think of a great analogy for you, but I can't come up with one on the fly. But our suites are a little more expensive. They're not sky high, but they're not bargains. We're not catering to the people who aren't good with their books, aren't don't have a little bit of business acumen alongside their talent in the services they provide. So by charging a little more and providing amenities to go with that these people value, we attract better people. It's part of what's built into our system, but it also happens naturally. People realize that paying a little more for a suite where they know the maintenance is good, they have comfortable seating, they have access to beverages, actual ice cubes, just the towel service. We have a towel service, which is amazing. So we really value you come to work, you see your clients, then you go home. Don't drag your dirty towels and when you get home and you've got your own laundry, now you've got to wash those. So we're really catering to those people with our brand and our model, and we seem to do really well with attracting them. And I think that those people see the value in the price difference. And again, there are sweet concept salons that are more high end than us, where you're going to pay for a lot of glass and a lot of fancy aesthetics and branding, and that is perfectly fine. We're not the highest end, most expensive, but we bring a very good value, and we are very attractive to the beauty professionals who value really what we value, a high-end experience for their clients that supports their pricing structure while also making it a pleasant place for them to want to come to work and build their business and their brand.
Yeah, that pricing can be a fantastic strategy that a
Mhm.
lot of people overlook.
Yeah.
You bring in who you price to. So outstanding
Exactly.
work there. And you
And you're
meant
right. People overlook that all the time. I see that. And I think, raise your prices. That filters out a lot of people.
mhm,
Yeah,
if that's the clients you want to bring in.
sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Now you mentioned a couple of the amenities as far as beverage on site and towel service. What other type of amenities would you do you offer that are different?
One thing that I experienced being in Sweet Concept salons, I'd been in two prior to opening Utopia, and going from and I'm speaking as a hairstylist, so I think other beauty professionals feel this as well, but primarily being a hairstylist, you go from a big salon with a team atmosphere where you can ask for advice or even just vent to fellow coworkers about things and whatnot, to being independent. And now you're in your own little suite by yourself and you don't feel that camaraderie and that team. And I felt that myself, and I knew that that's what was really missing in the as we evolve into the suite studio concept salons. And I thought, there's got to be a way to build community. So we do build community. We do community service events. We get together for seasonal things. We do parties, whatever. We try to do as much as we can to build community while also being very careful to walk that fine line where you are independent. You do not have to participate in any of this. And that being said, we have a wide range. We have, the girl who sets it all up and decorates everybody's rooms for their birthdays and does all the things, to people who say, I just want to go home to my husband and my cat. I'm not going to participate, which is all fine. But our biggest thing is that we do build community. Another thing we do that sets us apart significantly that I hear over and over is we have responsive management. I consider myself to be on during working hours, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I will pick up my phone and answer it if anybody calls to tell me, it's too hot in their room, it's too cold, there's, you know, a leak, whatever it is. I am fully responsive. I get somebody on the phone and get things taken care of or go physically show up myself and do it. So that's huge. That's what I hear a lot of buzz that is lacking. If it's after hours, I kind of determine, well, this can wait till Monday but I make sure that they always feel heard and that their concerns have been taken. I thank you for telling me. I'll take it from here. I really want to ensure that the reason they're in a suite and not doing their own storefront is because they don't want to deal with all this. So it's my job to deal with it. And I take that very seriously, and we will want our franchisees to do that as well. That is something, like I said, that really lacks otherwise. As far as the fluff amenities that do matter, the towel service is huge because we do provide the towels and they're washed, dried, folded, and stocked. And that doesn't sound like a big deal, except like I said, we are giving people back their time at night, their weekend time. It's just one less thing that they don't have to worry about. And again, as a hairstylist myself, I hated the towels. So we solved that problem. Um, when you come into our salon, we have a directory inside that lists all the folks who work there. We have comfortable seating, we have a beautiful aesthetic, and we do have a water machine that people do rave about. It is noteworthy. It shoots out ice cubes that are perfectly sized, cold water and hot water, so you can make tea, or we have a coffee pot, a coffee machine, so you can have coffee. That's something that no one else is doing, at least not in this town, which is so simple. We also, when I give tours, the beauty professionals that tour our salons get really excited about our break room. And all it is a kitchenette, a kitchen table, chairs, refrigerator, microwave. It's clean, it's tidy, but it's a place that they can go and hide out. They can eat their lunch without clients looking at them or coming in, and just a serene space that is for them. They can make a phone call, do whatever they want. And I know to someone not in the industry, this stuff may not sound exciting, but to beauty professionals, these are pretty big amenities. But basically our community building, our responsive management, and our aesthetic amenities, that's what sets us apart.
Well, you perfectly brought up the next question of, you're talking about some people this may not matter to. Who do you want as your perfect franchise partner?
Ideally, it would be someone who has had some involvement in the beauty industry to some degree. This is kind of twofold because this business is very much it's a beauty salon. It's also real estate. It's also subleasing. So I feel like we fit really well into two categories. The beauty industry, people like myself who know what these tenants are going to want, and um, commercial real estate people who are looking at this like, wow, if I just dice this up into smaller pieces, I can get a lot more return on my investment for the space. So we kind of have two avatars, two perfect franchisees. Um, Ideally, it would be a blend of each,
Mhm.
someone who I mean, even if it's someone who has had a sister in the beauty industry or worked as a sales rep for one of the product lines, someone who just understands that industry and what all goes on in it, but also someone who has the understanding of property management. You've got to be responsive, you got to fix stuff, you've got to be resourceful, and you've got to keep your suites leased. You got to keep it going and keep the turnover low. So a perfect blend of those two is ideal. Granted, either one I think can be taught and trained, but primarily I want someone who loves and appreciates the whole core of what we're doing as much as I do. Yes, there's good income to be made, but at the end of the day, it's really just fun. My favorite place to be is to walk into the salons and feel the vibe and the energy, and everybody's happy. The customers are happy, the people who work there are happy, and my ideal franchisee would be someone who is just as excited about that as they are the income and want to really foster that and maintain that type of environment and culture,
So if I hear you right, community impact as well as
Mhm.
financial gain.
Right?
Yeah, perfect combination.
Mhm.
What has been your retention rate since you started 4.5 years ago with your first?
I haven't ever calculated it because that would be really hard to do to go through all the numbers and one by one, with 37 suites total, figure out how many months or days or weeks we've had vacancies. But I will tell you, I want to say it's 100%. It's probably actually high 90%. Um, Currently, we usually don't have suites available. We keep a pretty good wait list. What I find happens, it's kind of funny, when I find out someone's leaving for whatever reason, um, we immediately start ramping up the marketing a little bit. And and the first thing we do is we go to the wait list. Well, I go through that so quickly. It's frustrating sometimes because when we don't have space available, everybody's at the door. And when we do have a space available, so like, where'd you all go? Now they've moved on. They've signed leases elsewhere. Well, I can't get in there until June now or whatever. But it's kind of interesting how that plays out. But one thing that we do in our marketing, and I feel like I'm giving away all of our trade secrets, but that's okay. I feel generous about that. We there are two things we never do. We never stop marketing as though we have a suite available because I you never know when things are going to change. And I don't ever want people to be under the impression I'm not even going to try. They don't have suites available. I want to keep the demand there at all times for obvious reasons. And another thing we never do is put out there. We don't put on our website, on our social media marketing. We never put no suites available, fresh out. Don't come to us.
Right.
So we're always kind of churning. And that really works well for us as long as we keep the interest. One thing I forgot to mention, going back a little bit, when you asked the amenities we provide, we do promote our tenants on social media. We definitely do our part to make sure that our followers are seeing their businesses. And another big thing that I can't believe I left out is we try to do it monthly. Kind of depends on the months. December and May are super busy and crazy, and there's already enough going on in everyone's lives. But we try to provide an option, or we put out opportunities for business growth. We do a social media marketing class. I'll have my CPA come on and explain about tax time and how to prepare. So we do offer a lot of those things. And it's interesting to me sometimes the takers, the people who this is just a little side note, but the people who I think are experts on this topic show up, and the ones I think need to learn it don't show up. It's always fascinating. But just to circle back around, it is in our best interest to always make sure their businesses are healthy, doing our part, and same with our own business. So we try to really keep the doors open, even if we're full, even if we're fully leased.
And how you're supporting your tenants, for lack
Mhm.
of a better term. You're supporting them fantastically. How are you going to carry that over with your franchise partners and support them once they get going?
We will teach them how to do what we're doing. We will pass everything that we're doing down and invite them to join. We are working on now templating all of our social media so that we can we can post as a parent company, but then when our franchisees want to have their own location, or their own um, social media, Utopia in Tulsa, whatever, they can do their own growth, but we'll give them the templates to do that. And they can run with it and personalize it. These people in other markets, they're going to know their market better than I do. So I would love to learn and delve into their market as much as possible, but ultimately this person is going to be the expert and know more about what's going on in the pulse of their community.
And from our previous conversations, I know you kind of want to build out from your Wichita hub and spread out that way across the U.S. besides Oklahoma, where would be another great place for a franchise partner?
The cities that I really have my eyes on are similar in size and demographics to Wichita. I see Utopia in its early stages being in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, the suburbs of Dallas. I like Omaha, Nebraska, St. Louis area, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the Des Moines, Iowa area. So I really like those types of demographics. And then once we really get solidified there, those are all places I can travel to easily. So once we're solidified and we really have things going well, then I would branch out farther and get a little more brave and let people take it from there. I'd love to
Outstanding.
see us get in Florida. That excites me. Um, Florida, even going back west, Colorado, I I, I really like. I'd like to be everywhere. I feel like this is what's crazy about this concept is the space is still so green. There is so much room for this concept and especially in the Midwest going east. It's a little more dense going west. The West Coast is pretty well, and I hate to use the word saturated because I don't think it is saturated. I think there's room for more. I think it's a concept that is going in one direction and that's up. So maybe not saturated, but yeah, there's a lot of green space for us in this area.
Hmm. And when you and I are talking on April 18th of 2026,
Mhm.
what's going to change between now and then?
Our conversation will be more about you asking me how my franchisees are all doing and what's working and what hasn't worked and what I've learned in the process. Um, I think that's how this conversation is going to be. I might be telling you that I'm really busy running the three locations here in Wichita and managing my franchisees. So that'll be good.
Good.
I really enjoy, I get asked a lot what I'll do with these three locations here once we grow. And you're not asking, you didn't ask me this question, but I guess I'll just run with it. I really love being the owner operator. It's so fun. When I'm having a stressful day or doing things that I don't enjoy, I can go walk into any of my salons and just get my cup filled up. So I'm going to hang on real tight. It's going to be hard for me to ever want to give that up. I'll probably delegate a lot of my jobs to where maybe someday I can just walk in just to have my cup filled up. But I do intend to keep the ones that I have and while also supporting franchisees.
Yeah. Thank you. And what haven't I asked you that you want folks to know before we sign off today?
Oh gosh, you told me you were going to ask me that question and I didn't prepare my answer. Um, I'm going to tell you, I will share something because you and I talked about this earlier today. I do have a personal mission and a personal story. My kids, all three, have cystic fibrosis, and one of them unfortunately had to go through a liver transplant twice. So we really do stand on the platform of community engagement. And for me, the things I like to support are cystic fibrosis fundraising so that we can continue to improve the therapies and someday find a cure for kids like mine and also organ donation. I can't tell you enough reasons why everyone should be a registered donor, but the one reason I will give you is my son was listed as status 1A. He was up for the next liver that came available that fit him and qualified for him from coast to coast. He had days to live. He received that liver, and that was 9 years ago, and he's a normal functioning 23-year-old kid. So I guess if I could give one plug, take one stab at it, I want to say get behind organ donation and just make sure you're registered. And if you're not, ask someone about it, ask questions. You were a paramedic, you have answers. I have some experience in it. Find someone to dispel the myths.
Well, and to piggyback on that, of the thousands of EMS runs that I went on through my career, I never once asked somebody to see their driver's license to know whether or not they were an organ donor. So that's always a huge reason that people have given for not donating.
Mhm.
Don't believe it. I've
Yeah,
never looked at one, and I don't know of any colleagues that ever did. So
right.
I
Right.
applaud that. How will your success in franchising help to further your personal passion?
Oh, that's a great question. It'll give us a bigger platform to speak from. Hopefully, if down the road we've got hundreds of franchise units, we'll probably have a lot of money that we can send over to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And if ever I could feel that my company was part of bringing a cure to these people, then I can't imagine anything better. It's nothing better I'd rather do with that money than make people's lives better.
May your stage be bigger than Boomer's.
Well, yeah. Hey, I'd be happy to meet Boomer and
That'd
Gunner.
be
His son
awesome.
Gunner is the same age as my oldest daughter. They've really gone through the whole life of CF, the hardships in the 90s to the big drug developments in recent years. So I could talk for hours on that, but
Kristen,
I'll
thank you
stop
so
right there.
much. Yeah, we'll
Thank
and
you.
thank you all for watching this episode of the Successful Franchisee's Beautiful View. If you want to talk to Kristen, I'll make sure that her email is down below in the comments. Please like, share, and give us a comment about how our conversation went. Feedback is good. Until then, stay safe and win every day.